You're listening to the New Artist Workshop.
Come to negotiate, eh? Have you, you slimy git? Look what I got. I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt. And guess what's inside it?
Ahoy, and welcome back aboard your favorite podcast. Now that's what me calls a franchise. They call me Peter Mancuso.
I didn't know he was gonna do that.
I be doing what, lassie?
I'm Viviana Mancuso. Viviana Metzger.
Not yet, you're not Viviana Mancuso. Not yet.
Excuse my flub. I'm Viviana Metzger, and this is the show where Peter and I pick a film franchise and go through every single installment. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
I'm dropping the voice down. And to be clear, I should have done this for the last episode, I feel like. It would have been funnier to start with anyway.
Oh my God.
Maybe I did. It's been so long since we recorded that one. I don't even remember what we... All I remember is that I said lots of problematic things. That's all I remember. But I don't know what I said. I just remember afterwards thinking, ugh, I'm nervous about editing that one. So maybe I'd edit it out, so maybe you guys are like, what are you even talking about?
Should we re-record it?
No. If it's really that bad, I'll take it out. Anyway, I just want to be clear, in case you don't know. We're defining a franchise as a series of films with at least 4 entries, unless I say otherwise.
For now.
So, Viviana, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about the 2006 film Pirates of the Caribbean, A Chest of a Dead Man. Just kidding, Dead Man's Chest. And this is your one and only spoiler warning. If you haven't watched the movie, do that before listening to this episode. I've realized listening to some episodes that if you haven't seen the movie recently, you could get lost. So
yeah, that's why I feel like we don't make it easy. Like, this is very much designed.
We're fresh. We freshly.
Yeah. I mean, we used to do this. We would do it all in one sitting. We would watch it and then record like 10 minutes later. But I kind of like what we've done. What we've done. This is a little inside baseball for you. We've split it up kind of just out of necessity, because now we actually have like full-time jobs now.
Well, yeah, because it would take like a whole day.
It would be like 5 or 6 hours. Because if it was like a long movie and then we might take like a little break in between, like maybe like half an hour to eat, or I would find the trivia usually, and then we would record, and then if the recording took like 2 hours, that's like 5 hours right there.
Yeah, of course we're blabbermouths, so
so now we've split it up, but yeah, it is still very fresh. So yeah, if you haven't watched, listening to any of these, if you haven't watched the movie we're talking about, and you don't feel like you know it well, you should definitely watch it before listening. I feel.
Yeah. But we'll talk about it later, but I've seen this movie before, and I definitely am glad that I watched it before doing this podcast. Like, I could not just do it based off of memory.
Yeah. Well, that's like the fun of this podcast, I feel like, is that even if I have seen, like, with Indiana Jones, I had seen all of them.
No, yeah.
But it was still fun to, watch them again because I hadn't seen some of them in so long, but also watching them in order. Like, it helps put it in a larger context.
Yeah.
So anyway, so here's the little letterbox blurb, and I'm about to read it exactly as it's written, and you tell me if this sounds weird. Captain Jack Sparrow works his way out of a blood debt with the ghostly Davy Jones, he also attempts to avoid eternal damnation.
What?
Those are not... There should be like an and in there, or unless maybe I copied and pasted it wrong, but I don't think so.
The sentence structure is weird, but also that description is weird.
Why? Explain. Why?
I thought those were the same thing.
Yeah, it's not a great letterbox blurb. On a scale, we should be able to rate the blurbs as well as the movies.
That's too much.
Who writes them?
I don't know.
Who gets to? I think it's on. I think Letterboxd sources its info from not IMDb but TMDB. And I think whatever the description is on TMDB.
What's T?
I think. I know it's. I forget what it stands for, but
Instead of international?
you can upload like a movie. So like I made a film, like my student film.
Yeah.
And I uploaded TMDB, and then like a day later, it showed up on Letterboxd, right? So I imagine whatever is on that website is what ends up on Letterboxd. But
Whoever uploads the movie, I guess.
yeah, there's been a lot of filler already for the past 5 or 6 minutes. So why don't I get down to some brass tacks here? So here's the basic info. What's really cool about this franchise, especially for the first few films, it's basically the same creative team.
Yes, Gore is back.
So they're directed by Gore Verbinski. Coming back to direct this one.
Unfortunate name, but
also,
yes.
Why?
Gore.
Oh, Gore. Yeah, I guess so. Written again by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio.
Ted and Terry.
Distributed by Buena Vista Pictures, so Disney.
Of course.
It was released in July of 2006. It had a budget of $225 million and made over $1 billion.
Oh wow!
It's the highest gross of the franchise. It's the highest profit margin, and it's the highest return for the whole franchise. This is easily the most successful film.
Wowza.
Again, I think you'll see this in a lot of film franchises, especially the ones that we'll watch, is that oftentimes movies that like aren't the best ones have the best box office gross. And a lot of times I think it's because it's riding off of the success of the last one. Like, so for example, X-Men Apocalypse ended up, going back to X-Men now, I believe had a pretty okay box office return. And I think it's because it was coming off of Days of Future Past and everyone loving that movie. But then like no one went to Dark Phoenix because they saw Apocalypse and were like, this isn't very good.
Yeah.
So I feel like this movie was as successful as it was because of
This one's pretty good.
This one's pretty good, but I think it's definitely riding off of the success of the popularity of the previous one.
Yes.
Because the first one was just like a phenomenon, and this one was as well. To be fair,
This one was something else. This one was its own.
it's fascinating. It's such an interesting sequel. We'll get into it, but first, so Viviana, so you said that you had seen this before. So what was your experience with this? Had you seen this one more than the first one, or had you only seen this a few times? Like, what's your experience with this one?
I don't know if I've seen it more necessarily, but I think I definitely liked this one a lot more as a kid, and
So you like it less now, you mean?
I just don't know how to feel, honestly.
It's very conflicting. I will. It definitely gives very
like,
conflicting impressions.
Because like,
at least for me.
Yeah, because like when I was a kid, it was like, wow, this is so intense and so cool, whatever, right? But now I'm just like, whoa, that was extremely graphic, and then that's so silly.
Like right after, yeah.
But I think, as watching or during watching it, like things would come up, or like I would see something, it would kind of spark like, oh yeah,
like you knew it, but you didn't know you knew
like
until you watched it, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah, like with X2, or no, Last Stand. Where
the one with the bridge.
The one with the bridge, yeah. Where it's
we gotta get like if we get fans, we gotta make like a T-shirt that says like the one with the bridge, and have you like in the Golden Gate Bridge or something. We gotta make T-shirts. Now, let us know. Send us a message on social media if you want us to make custom Viviana bridge shirts. Anyway,
but basically that was like the one thing that I mainly remembered. Like if you were to ask me. But then, like, I remembered other stuff, too. With, like, especially with the child and whatnot.
The child.
The Cure child. What's his name?
Oh, I thought you were talking about this movie. Yes, in The Last Stand.
I don't know.
A little boy.
I
don't know.
Does he have a name?
Yes, but I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember.
But then, it was kind of the same for this one. And my bridge for this one was Davy Jones, of course. Because that's just, like, unlike anything I have ever seen. It's just like...
Especially at the time.
What?
Huge... and we'll talk about it later, but huge breakthrough.
Like, he's got an octopus squid beard. He's playing the organ with his tentacles.
Very well conceptualized. I think I read a piece of trivia that originally it was still going to be very like intense, but his design was going to be more like the other crew members of the Flying Dutchman, where it's just lots of like gouts and like bulges and barnacles and but then they just like were like, screw it, we're just gonna go full like Cthulhu monster creature. Well, do you know what I mean by Cthulhu?
Maybe.
So you know like H.P. Lovecraft? He was like a very famous like science fiction horror writer. Okay. From Rhode Island actually. Oh. Kind of racist. Oh. And his legacy's kind of tarnished for that, and for good reason. But he's very influential in the idea of like cosmic horror, in the sense that there's I'm speaking from a place of ignorance. Like, I haven't actually read any Lovecraft. I just know like he's just very influential in the idea of like the unknowable horror. Like the idea of like forces, cosmic supernatural forces beyond our comprehension. So he would often write about these like monsters. I think they were called the Cthulhu. It's spelled really weird. It's like Cthu, like, and they're like these like weird tentacle creatures that almost defy like that's not even their true form. It's just like the only way we can comprehend them or something weird. So whenever I see things with tentacles, I think of that. It's like, but huge breakthrough in CGI technology at the time and now. It's still like, and we'll talk about more, but it looks incredible.
I thought they did it with the first one, and here they are doing it again. It still looks good.
Oh, just like the VFX in the first one looking good as well.
Yeah, well, and like doing something so experimental and risky like that, like
it could totally not work.
Yeah.
And I think they actually, so the actor who played Davy Jones, Bill Nighy, not Bill Nye, no. I believe they put him in a little bit of makeup on set, just in case it didn't work. The CGI didn't look good. They could like fall back on like at least having some of it be practical, but luckily ended up like the entire character is basically CGI.
Yeah.
Not quite motion capture from my understanding, because he didn't do it like in another room in a black like leather suit with like ping pong balls.
Okay.
But I think he did something like that. But he was on set, like he did all of it there. Okay. And from my understanding, the actors found it really hard to act off of him, because he's supposed to be like, it's already goofy looking.
Yeah.
But it's supposed like what he was wearing on set.
Oh yeah.
To help with like the computer tracking or whatever. But it's not just like, oh, he looks actively silly, but the character's supposed to be terrifying.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was hard for a lot of the actors to play off of that.
Yeah.
To like not only not laugh, but like be afraid.
Yeah. I think I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about it later, I guess. But I mean, I think he's really good.
It's amazing. He's probably my best favorite part of the movie.
He like
honestly.
Balances like funny, but also
it is kind of a camp,
scary.
Yeah,
very well.
He's like such a big like
kind of terrifying.
It's just pure camp at some point. Just like the way he will talk. Like he
does emphasize so much.
But I had seen this film before. Not nearly as much as the first one. Again, the first one has always been my favorite, and I don't see that changing watching these. From my understanding, these only go downhill with each one. Just looking at the math of the score, of the Rotten Tomatoes score, the Letterboxd score. But I remember even as a kid, I liked it, but I always thought something was just off about it and kind of boring. Really? Watching it this time, I definitely like it more than I thought I would on a rewatch. I think I was able to pick up on a little bit more of the subtleties and the character relationships and dynamics a little bit more. Whereas the first one has all of that, but it also has a very compelling surface level story. Whereas this one is a lot, and I wrote about this in my notes, but I may as well just bring it up now. Because it's our show. We could bounce around if we want.
It's our show. I
feel like a problem with this movie, I don't even want to characterize it as a problem, but at least comparing it to the first one.
Yes.
It lacks a clear, like, cohesive narrative.
Yes.
Like, it has a narrative, but the first one was so easily digestible. It's like very clear, like, okay, here's the status quo, here's the inciting incident, here's the conflict, here's what they're going to do to solve the conflict, you know, ups and downs, rising tension, whatever. Whereas this one
I feel like
is
it's
very
messier.
over. It's so much messier. And something else I wrote down in my notes is that, like, the first film, but both of these films consist of amazing set pieces, like ideas for scenes and adventures and problems they have to get out of.
Yeah.
The first one was masterful in weaving them all together seamlessly,
Yeah.
effortlessly. This one feels effortful. Like you really could see the seams where it'll just be like the writers wanted to have this sequence, so they find like the laziest, quickest way to get there, just so then they can have this sequence. I'm thinking like the island with the cannibals, like they come up with these ideas for scenes, and then they're not good at weaving them all together into a narrative.
Yeah.
That works on an emotional level.
Yeah. I think maybe that's one of the reasons why, like, I didn't really remember much, because I think
It's hard to keep it in mind if you don't have a strong structure.
Yeah,
it's hard to remember.
I think you really summarized it well when we were watching it, and you were like, "Oh, this is kind of like a Buster Keaton film. Like, it's so visual," and
which works a lot of the time.
Yeah,
but some
just
of it
like
just
stunts and stuff, and not like actual story. But then also, I think like I've noticed I noticed a lot more. I don't even know what you would call them, like shortcuts or workarounds, like, you know.
In terms of like the writing, you mean? Like,
yeah, like it felt like, oh, this is just to move the plot forward, or like, oh, this is just so that
it's like
this
heavy-handed.
can happen. Yeah,
like they don't do a good job of making it feel like, or like, the first one was so great at like you just got, no pun intended, like just washed over you.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you're a lot more aware of the writer's hand.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I am the writer. I'm trying to get you from A to B. Whereas before, you weren't even thinking about A and B. You were just like, this is awesome.
You're just like soaking it up. Yeah, you were learning the world. Whereas this time, like, we know the world, you know, and there's a little bit of familiarity with that. But I think there's also like, there's so much more like magic or mystic that it just like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me being annoying, but like I have so many questions about the whole like Davy Jones soul locker Kraken situation. Like,
a lot of it's like hand waved away, where it's just like here's what it is, and we're just gonna go with it, which I think works to a point. But I think you're right. It raises more questions that just, I don't know if this or the sequel to this, because really,
yeah.
And I'll talk about this, talking about like the development of the movie.
Yeah.
In that you see this a lot with films, especially like in trilogies, which even though this is a franchise show, we'll cover a lot of trilogies because trilogies end up making a fourth one or whatever. Yeah. But you often see a movie be made and it's really good and everyone loves it. It's this like complete story, and then they're like, we're gonna make a trilogy. So the second and third movies kind of become like a duology in their own right.
Yeah.
I think you see that in Back to the Future, where it's like the first one's the first one.
Yeah.
And then really, you have Back to the Future 2. And then really, you have the third one is Back to the Future 2 Part 2. Like, do you know what I mean? This is no different. And we'll talk about this, but these were both filmed like at the same time.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's like a very delicate process to kind of handle, because I feel like those things were a lot more like those kind of, I don't know, like world building questions or plot holes or whatever, were a lot more noticeable because like the other world was established, right? Like we know the situation.
They made the magic very clear in the first one. It was crystal clear.
And like
how it worked, what were the rules, and they used the rules in entertaining ways where it's like, oh, Jack stole a piece, now he's able to not die during the last fight. Like they established the rules, they made it very clear, and then they used their expectations of the rules to have fun. Whereas this one's a little too heavy.
I feel like it's flipped. So like the first one, what we were really trying to understand was like the dynamic, like the political dynamics. But now it's kind of flipped where like we understand that, and like it's kind of silly because like they're still like being chased after for like the same crimes in the first film, but like whatever, you know, like we kind of know that kind of like I don't know.
Yeah. Which kind of ruins the catharsis.
World,
that kind
right?
of ruins the catharsis of the first film, now that I'm thinking about it. Where, like, I thought the
Yeah.
whole point is that, like, they kind of prove, like, maybe being a pirate isn't as bad as we've made it out to be.
Well, I think
And,
they
like,
did, but not to everyone else.
I guess so, yeah. It just... but, on paper, like, factually...
Yeah.
That, I understand that. But
seemed-
emotionally, it kind of ruins the
seemed,
catharsis
yeah,
of the
like
first
a good,
one.
like, moral wrap-up of, like, you know... Or
Whereas this is kind of like,
fake
we're
one.
relitigating the conflicts of the first movie.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought we had already settled that.
Which, like, I feel like we... And then, like, get a lot more confused with all the magic and stuff, but also, like, I feel like some of the political stuff was confusing, too. Like...
In this one?
Because it wasn't the government. It was the tea company, right?
Oh!
Sir.
So, sorry, someone was calling me. Sorry about that,
You're
everybody.
supposed to put it on...
But it's my computer.
I know, you're supposed to put the volume down.
Oh, I am? Oh. I didn't know that. Sorry, everybody.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so it's like the trading company, right? So it's like, how does the trading company have authority to get arrest warrants and also like essentially arrest the governor? Like, I'm just confused as to who this new guy is and why he has so much power.
So why don't I read a little bit? So the East India Trading Company is fictional.
Yeah.
But it's based off of the real East India Company. Mm-hmm. So this is what Wikipedia says. And I'm going to kind of skim because I'm not sure what parts of this we need to know here. But so the East India Company was an English and later British joint stock company founded in 1600, dissolved in 1874. It was formed to trade in the Indian Ocean region, initially with the East Indies, which is the Indian subcontinent, and later with East Asia. The company seized control of large parts of the Indian continent. I think it was very intertwined with the British government.
Was it?
I think. It originally chartered as the company rose to account for the world's trade. It was partially state-owned, yes. So, let's put a pin in this.
Does that make it over the governor?
Essentially, like, the East India Company was, like, one of the first, like capitalism was still, like, nascent in, like, the 1500s, 1600s.
I know, yeah.
And it was, like, one of, like, the first big...
spices and whatnot.
Yeah, so, I think it's one of those things where now it's starting to have, like, more jurisdiction in places. But again, also, this is, like, a fictional version, so I don't quite know. But why don't we put a pin in this? Why don't we talk a little bit about the development of the movie? We kind of just jumped right into the art.
No, yeah, okay, so, that was a little confusing, but then, like, the rules and regulations and stuff of all the magic is also where, like, I want to know a lot more. Like, they're like, oh, I guess if you... I don't even know. Like, you sign your soul over to Davy Jones, then you have to do 100 years of solitude as like a...
Servitude?
What?
Servitude?
Yeah, what did I say?
Solitude.
Oh, servitude.
Like the book, like the 100 Years of Solitude.
Servitude.
The magical realism book.
As, you know, like an underwater ghost zombie thing, and it's 100 years.
What does he need a crew for? Is he
But also
doing ship stuff? Are they trading? Are they shipping stuff?
They call the Kraken. They rule the sea.
But to what end?
I don't know, just to be powerful.
Do you want to know why they call the ship? Because they ship stuff. That's why it's called a ship.
Yeah, you know what? They're shipping the Kraken.
Yeah.
But anyways, so it's like 100 years, but then they're wagering years. So
Are those your years to wager?
Someone can trade their years? ? And then like also you can kill Davy Jones and then like a new captain would be there, but like don't you sign off with Davy Jones? Is he...
If he dies, does your contract dissolve?
Like, is he the one...
I think you're thinking too much. I don't think this is narratively important.
No, I just want to know, like, who's in charge here? Like,
who gave him the authority?
Yeah, because all of us, like, you know, they're like, oh, kill Davy.
Was he just a regular dude? Maybe we'll find out in the third one, but was he just a regular dude and he too became all sea creatureified like they did? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the assumption, because he was in love, and then, I don't know, I guess it hurt too much, or she broke up with him or something.
So he can rip his heart out of his body and not die. But then if you stab that heart, which is no longer connected to his body, he now dies. Tell me how that makes sense.
Who does he serve? Triton?
Satan.
Oh, Satan?
let me tell you.
Why can he only go on land once every 10 years, but the crew can go whenever they want?
Because it's a narrative plot. It's a plot device. Okay. All right. So a little bit of background on the film.
Let's get into it, dude.
Following the success of Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl, 2003.
Of course.
The cast and crew signed on for 2 more sequels to be shot back to back, a practical decision on Disney's part to allow more time with the same cast and crew. This is a classic Hollywood thing, you know, because that way you can just do all the same stuff in the same place, you know, especially if things take place in the same location.
Yeah.
You don't have to, like, get it twice. You can just, like, stay there. Mm-hmm. The original Superman, at least parts of the second one, they were all filmed at the same time. Lord of the Rings, famously, I think all 3 were all filmed. I think that was the only way Peter Jackson could do it, because he was like, we have to make either all of them or none of them.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just make one and then decide you don't want to do it. Like, we have to do them all. So it makes sense. So, again, this really ties into this idea that the 2 of them are really, like, 2 parts of, like, one big story. The writers decided not to make the sequels new adventures featuring the same characters, kind of like Indiana Jones, where it's just like, this is just like now a new adventure. That has nothing to do with the previous one. Instead, they wanted to retroactively turn the first film into the first of a trilogy. They really wanted it to feel like a cohesive 3-part story.
Yeah.
Though I'm not sure how much they do to make the first one feel connected to this one, aside from the characters, except maybe the compass. The idea that the compass...
Well, I guess the compass, and then
because in the original, they never say...
the warrant for helping him.
That's true. The immediate setup, that's fair, yeah.
And also Jack's time as captain in the Black Pearl.
To that point, the writers wanted to explore the reality of what would happen after Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann's embrace at the end of the first film, and they initially considered the Fountain of Youth as a plot device. They eventually settled on introducing Davy Jones, the Flying Dutchman, and the Kraken. Or Kraken. I think it's actually Kraken, but we all say Kraken. But I think it's Kraken.
We're American. Kraken.
I'm just going to say Kraken. They also introduced the fictional East India Trading Company, who for them represented a counterpoint to the themes of personal freedom represented by pirates. I said this when we were watching it. I wrote down my notes, but I may as well just bring it up now. I fucking love how the 2 main villains of this movie are like the satanic, horrifying, tentacle, like cruel, evil man, and then capitalism. Those are like the 2 antagonists of the story.
Yeah.
And how it just makes everything worse. So planning began back in June of 2004, and the production was much larger than the first film. This time, the sequels would require full working ships with a working Black Pearl built over the body of an oil tanker in Alabama. By November, the script was still unfinished, and the writers did not want director Gore Verbinski and producer Jerry Bruckheimer to compromise what they had written. So Verbinski worked with James Burkett, whoever that is, to storyboard major sequences without need of a script, while Elliott and Rossio wrote a preparatory script for the crew to use before they finished the script they were happy with. By January 2005, with rising costs and no script, Disney executives threatened to cancel the film, but they changed their minds. The writers would accompany the crew on location, feeling that the lateness of their rewrites would improve the spontaneity of the cast's performances. Always a great idea. Like, we'll just wing it. In terms of the visual effects... which were which are groundbreaking at the time. The Flying Dutchman's crew members were originally conceived by writers Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio as ghosts, but Gore Verbinski disliked this idea and designed them as physical creatures. Their hierarchy is reflected by how mutated they were, right? So newcomers had low-level infections, while veterans had full-blown undersea creature attributes, which kind of makes sense. Like, the guy who'd been there forever, he was like basically built into the ship at that point.
Yeah.
Right? Verbinski wanted to keep them realistic, rejecting a character with a turtle shell, and the animators watched various David Attenborough documentaries to study the movement of sea anemones and mussels.
Welcome back to Planet Earth, where we show you the best discoveries.
Yeah. All of the crew are computer generated, with the exception of Stellan Skarsgård, who played Bootstrap Bill Turner. Initially, his prosthetics would be augmented with CGI, but that was abandoned.
Interesting. So the whole thing was practical.
Yeah. So originally they were going to do that, and they were going to augment it with like weird stuff, but
stuff moved on his face.
That might have been maybe like an urchin here or there, or like a barnacle. But I think like the idea was they were going to give him more moving attributes the others, maybe, or like more visibly magical features. I think.
Yes.
But
that one man, he has a hammerhead shark head.
Yeah, that one's weird. Davy Jones had originally been designed with chin growths before the designers made the move to full-blown tentacles. The skin of the character incorporates the texture of a coffee-stained styrofoam cup, among other elements.
Love that.
To portray Jones on set, Bill Nighy wore a motion capture tracksuit that meant the animators at Industrial Light and Magic did not have to reshoot the scene in the studio without him or in or on a motion capture stage. Right, so he wore enough where they were able to do the work.
Okay, so different than
set.
like Smeagol and like.
Different than, well, not even Spiegel, but like when you watch, like Avatar's a good example. Like they would do that in a big, just like sound stage.
Oh yes.
And there'd be nothing practical.
Nothing but dots.
Exactly, nothing but dots, and they build the whole thing in the computer. Whereas this was the opposite, where it's like they're putting him into a real world.
Yeah.
Nighy wore makeup around his eyes and mouth to splice into the computer-generated shots, but the images of his eyes and mouth were not used. To create the CGI version of the character, the model was closely based on a full body scan of Nighy, with Jones reflecting his high cheekbones. Animators studied every frame of Nighy's performance. The actor himself had blessed them by making his performance more quirky than expected, providing endless fun for them. His performance also meant new controls had to be stored. So I think, like, some of it was motion captured, but, like, for example, and some of it was simulation, like the tentacles, though at times they were hand animated when they act as limbs for the character. Right? So, like, oftentimes with computer animation, they don't do it, like, every frame individually, the way you would do, like, hand-drawn. Like, they just, like, are able to process complex simulations of, like, what it would be like.
Okay.
But sometimes, like, if he was doing something very specific, they would need to, like, by hand,
like,
in quotes.
Maybe say playing the organ.
That's really the funniest fucking thing, because he's just like, if you take out the tentacles, it looks like he's trying to smell something. He's just like moving his head back and forth over the organ. It's so fucking funny to impersonate and replicate. So why don't we get into, we've already started talking about our opinion, but why don't we kind of get in? We'll move chronologically. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been trying really hard to, if not write less notes, just write better notes. Because I think I was really trying to, it felt, I was saying this to you when we were watching it, it felt like I was, these episodes, it feels like I was writing for a book, like writing notes for a book report, right? I was just like writing the plot for like a third of my notes were just like, this person does this. But I think I didn't have enough confidence in my ability to remember what happened in the film. So what I tried to do in the last episode and this one as well is like try to keep my notes like, if not opinionated, like more analytical. Like it's like this bullet point is like me, like this is my thought, as opposed to just like, he shoots that guy. Some of them are like that because I want to talk about that plot point. But so just want to make that clear. But we're still gonna move kind of chronologically.
Okay, I'll start it out because I was thinking about this during my nap.
So you were thinking about this in your dreams. Yeah. So starts off with the beginning, a very moody opening.
Well, yeah. It's
raining.
Well, the other dream I had the other day was I really was wanting bananas, and then my friends were helping me find some bananas to eat. But this one was about, you know, doing this podcast and the movie. So, black screen. And we hear a heartbeat thumping.
Foreshadowing.
It's the first video or audio or visual effect that'll show that this movie is a lot more artsy than the last one. Not sure why, but okay. So then it does that, right? And then it opens on Elizabeth She's on her knees, like, on the ground, in the dirt.
Raining!
It's raining. She's holding a bouquet of flowers, and nothing's been put away. Like, seemingly a wedding has been set up, right? But then nothing is put away.
Set up, but thwarted.
Well, thwarted, yes. But, well, also, the timing doesn't work on that. But I'll leave that alone. So...
I just went to a point how I wasn't going to go through the film, Lily, and you're like, so the first 10 seconds.
I just want to describe this incredible scene that I'm so confused by. So, it's pouring down rain. The tables are set out. The teacups are filled with rain. The music stands and the sheet music on the floor. The chairs are out. The huppa's out. And she's just laying in the dirt. And we're like, what the hell is she doing? And turns out...
She looks like she just saw, like, someone get murdered. She kind of looks like catatonic. I don't understand the circumstances of this opening. Because it's like, is he late? Is Will late? And that's why she's all distraught? Or does she know that he's being arrested? Like...
No, because that guy comes and tells her.
It's like, does she think that he stood her up?
Where are the guests?
Yeah, where are they? I never understood that as a kid.
Was she the only one who didn't run inside when it started raining? Like...
I guess not.
I don't understand.
Is this the hurricane that they've been talking about this whole movie? They keep bringing up a hurricane.
I don't know. Where was her father? Why didn't he beckon her to come inside?
He didn't beckon her because her fiance was taken by Beckett. This man Beckett.
Anyways, yes, then this devilish man, he's
our new big bad, kind of.
Yeah, he's not really.
He's not big bad. If Davy Jones is the new Barbossa, he's like the new Norrington. Like he represents the English.
Of course, yeah.
The law.
This very short devilish man, and he's like, I got a warrant for Will Turner. We're gonna arrest him for helping out Jack. And
Elizabeth.
Well, no, hold on. And then everyone gets there. They're all in a tizzy, all standing around. And the governor's like, hey, you can't do that. And Elizabeth gets there, and she's like, hey, you can't do that. And he was like, oh, here's the not the warranty. The warrant.
The warranty.
The warrant for Will. And the governor's like, no, this is a warrant for Elizabeth. And he's like, oh, my mistake. Being very shysty. And then he's like, here's the one for Will. And then they're both bound, going to be locked up. But Will isn't taken to the cellar. He's taken to Beckett's office.
Oh, you're jumping ahead. Whoa.
No, that happens right after.
No.
No, I swear.
That happens later because we gotta meet Jack. We have to see Jack first. But.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're jumping all. Why are you turning into me? You're going like beat by beat. So what do you think about that?
It's just so.
It's like an audiobook. What do you think about it?
And next,
No.
he walks down the aisle.
So they're gonna get they're kind of on the hook now.
Their wedding. Yeah, we find out it's their wedding. And
they're on the hook for helping Jack, I guess, in the last film, which isn't fair
even
because
though they
Elizabeth
got pardoned in the first one, didn't they?
I don't know, but Elizabeth didn't even help though. She fainted to make a distraction. Does that really count as helping? Come on, Will, I can understand.
She did leave the ship. Remember, she left the ship.
That was way before. I'm talking about the very last scene. Anyway, so I will say that something about this opening, I do like this opening, even though I'm very confused about the circumstances.
It seems like a remake of the first. Like, it seems like it's just like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Or at least that's what it seemed like to me. It's like, oh, we're doing this again. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if I agree with that specifically, but you're touching on a point that I do agree with in that the first film was such a phenomenon that a lot of moments in this film feel like they're trying to capture the magic of the first film to mix success, right? So sometimes that's like a set piece or like an idea. Sometimes it's like literally just like, here's a quote from the first movie that you know what I mean? Like, Or like a reference to something that happened in the first movie, like Will Turner getting slapped by the prostitute. Like it feels like here's the greatest hits of all the stuff from the first movie.
Even the background character or the supporting characters too.
Yeah. like I loved them.
The dog has no business being in this movie.
And you know who else does not have any business being in this movie?
Ragetti and...
Yeah, the two... I call them Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I always forget their names.
Pintel and Ragetti.
Yeah. Is one of them Italian?
The tall one is named Ragetti.
Oh, okay.
And the shorter one is Pintel.
But you know what I mean? Like, they are only... If you think about it logically, they're the only evil crew members from before to return.
Well, no,
because they were just fun side characters.
What's his name? Bill? No.
Who's Bill? Bootstrap Bill?
No. The guy with the sideburns. He looks like what
are you talking about?
What's his name? Oh, Sabretooth.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Yes. The crew. The second guy.
Oh, Gibbs. Oh, he was a good guy. I'm talking about the evil guys. Yes. Oh, yeah. Not any character. I'm talking about the evil guys.
Yes,
they're the only two that returned because they were like fan fave, like because they're like a funny duo.
Yes.
And their stuff in this is great. But again, it feels. I wrote this somewhere else, but I may as well just bring it up now. Is that a lot of this, especially Jack, but you can kind of see this with all the characters, is at some points it almost becomes like self-parody. Like it's like the Flanderization of these characters. I think we talked about Flanderization on the show before. Do you know what I mean by that?
Just like repeating it.
Well, no. So it comes from Ned Flanders from The Simpsons.
Oh,
where
yes.
like
making it more.
It's like it just becomes like an echo loop or whatever you call it. Where it just becomes like I said, a self-parody almost.
Yes.
That happens a lot where it feels like everything like so Pintel and Ragetti, it's like they're back and they're even goofier than they were before.
Well, they're just
Jack in the first movie was kind of a clever, conniving, suave. He's super clever. He's super suave. He's super like it's like all of the characteristics are turned up to 11.
And I feel like the worst part is for Will because like you know how he was in the first movie and like I've got to save her, blah blah blah. You know, it's like even more like that. He's like, I gotta find the compass and save Elizabeth. Like you know. Yeah,
again, and we spent and something. I really wish, both for narrative details as well as narrative structure, I wish there was a little bit more of a first act before this. Because basically this movie starts with the inciting incident. At least for Will and Elizabeth. Like the movie starts and the conflict is arising. I wish there had been even just a little bit of a status quo where we could kind of see like, where are they now? Like, because this isn't 5 days after the end of the first one. Like, time has passed.
Yeah.
So, like, what has happened, just narrative, factually, I want to know. But also, structurally, not having that makes it feel a little bit uneven. And that's what's making you feel like the Will stuff is sillier. Because, at least with the first film, we had enough time to spend with him, understand the kind of person he is, and why he cares so much about Elizabeth. Or at least, you know, besides her just being hot, I guess, right? And obviously he's the same character here.
Yeah.
And he wants to save his life.
You know what?
But still,
that's a good point. Because
but each movie still needs to have its own... do its own work.
I
you can't just bank on the original film.
I didn't think of that, but I think that is a good, maybe... resolution or remedy at least to that because then the story or the inciting incident would seem more disruptive, whereas
it's inciting. It's actually whereas we don't know what the status quo really is.
It's like a swoop over of the chaos from the first one. So it's like they're always on the run from the law, you know, or whatever. They're always in trouble. Whereas like if we
just like 5 minutes, like a fun kind of like sweet like 10 minutes of just like them getting ready for the wedding and then
Yeah.
it gets thwarted and they get arrested, like,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
show, like, a conflict of, like, because
It happens at the wedding. Yes.
I would be fine with this idea that they're always on the run. It's that I want to see how that fucks up their lives. Like, I want to see the potential good that was promised at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
Like, the first film ends with the hope and the promise of a better life.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have just seen a 5-10 minute sequence where we get to see that, the promise of that fulfilled, only for it to then get thwarted, right?
Yeah. And a little more built out, because I was confused why, I was a little confused why Will had just gone like full, or returned to being like full, I don't know, British or whatever, but like...
British?
No.
He was always British.
No, but like, he hadn't talked to Jack in years or whatever. Like, I thought the whole point was that he embraced both sides and that, like, he would be, you know, a part of society, but also, like, have this little, like, adventure streak. And like,
You think he's kind of back to square one almost? Like,
yeah, a little bit. Like, as it goes along, like, he obviously knows what to do and he's a lot more comfortable in that adventure and you know, the unknown. But I mean, I think that's really it. It's just more comfortable. It doesn't really show, I don't know, in his life or something. Like,
yeah. Again, it feels very effortful. Like, it's like the writers want to do this,
yeah.
so then they just, like, do it. And it's not, it doesn't feel like it manifests in a way that's satisfying, right? So they have all this stuff. I'll say what's interesting. So like the next scene, we have like those prisoners in like cages, and the crows are like eating their
Oh my
eyes.
God.
This movie does not pull its punches. Like, this is like,
Is this for children?
well, this is the thing, is that it's
He was literally alive and got his eye pecked out by a crow.
right.
Like,
So you have that, or you'll have things like that.
and you see it. It's not
And
like
then
you
5
hear it.
minutes later, like a Looney Tunes level gag.
Oh my gosh, the water
movie has
wheel.
a big
the water wheel.
Oh, I'm not even. We're gonna get there. But it's just a huge. It has a big issue with tone. And I don't even say it's an issue. It's not like I'm watching it and going like, this movie now is bad because of these. But it's just very jarring. And you're right, it makes you wonder, who is this for? It's clearly for families. It was a summer blockbuster.
Yeah,
It's Disney.
It's not. It doesn't make it bad like some movies are, and who that struggle with this. But like, yeah, it just like almost makes me concerned. Like would I deny my kid watching this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like very gory and visual.
More gory
know?
than the first one did a good job of balancing those two.
Yeah.
I think pretty well in the first one, where it was never too scary
Yeah.
and was never too goofy.
It was like dirty and grimy, but like it wasn't like super scary.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, like literally this man got his eye pecked out. Well, I guess like the hanging people, like the hanged people.
But they're just hanging there in broad daylight. Like, it's not necessarily scary.
And they're mostly skeletons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
I don't know.
The first movie has its dark. I mean, the jump scare of the skeleton monkey still like scares the shit out of me, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
I'm not pretending it wasn't gruesome. It doesn't do a good job of balancing.
Like a lot, you know. It just seems like a lot more.
Yeah, because you'll have these prisoners get their eyes poked out, and then 5 seconds later, Jack escapes out of a casket. Which you get?
He shoots a bird, and
shoots a bird,
and then uses like a femur to
like a skeleton, like a leg of a skeleton as like to row his like casket.
Yeah.
I think a great intro for Jack. Again,
Of
kind
course.
of not as good as the first one, which is like him coming in on a sinking ship.
Oh, that was iconic.
But
yeah.
but it kind of fits in line where it's like he's always like.
How did he get in there? What was he doing?
I don't know. He was escaping. Probably.
He's always
Who knows?
into some shenanigans, you know.
Yeah. So he gets back onto his ship.
But yeah.
He gets back onto his ship, and seeing the crew and everyone running around, both her specifically and also just like a woman, I miss Zoe Saldana. in this.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I thought she really was really great. That was like one of her
I wonder why
first
she's
roles.
not in that.
Oh, we talked about it last time. She had a horrible experience on the first one.
Oh, that's right.
And they wanted her to come back, and she was like, absolutely not. I will not come back.
Yeah. Because, what's his name? Cotton was there, too, with his parrot.
Yeah, the little, I don't want to say midget, but small person.
Oh, the small,
little person.
Marty. Yeah, Marty.
You know his name?
Oh,
No, the actor's name or the character?
No, that's
Marty?
the character's
Marty?
name. I looked up the movie.
I'm sorry. If I said the N word, I'm sorry. I don't know. M. For a little person. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my god.
I don't know what I'm supposed to. I don't really encounter little people in my life, so it's not something I have to think about.
Well,
a lot,
we'll see. On his thing. I
think medically it is dwarfism, but I don't know if people like that term.
Or
because of it's like fantasy stigma kind of.
You can say acromicric dysplasia.
I'm gonna say, hey, dysplasia person. Anyway,
No, a person with dysplasia.
I'm sorry. Anyway, so you have a lot of the crew come back.
Shouting.
Oh, I don't know, because I'm getting. Don't cancel 2 episodes in a row. I'm gonna get canceled.
There's someone on the cast list labeled very old man. I think you're okay.
I love that. But I miss Zoe Saldana, and I'm gonna start saying Saldana because that's how it's actually spelled.
With the little squiggle.
Yes, but people never say that, so I'm gonna start saying Zoe Saldana from Jackson Heights.
Oh, really?
Actually, yes. She's Afro-Latina. Oh. But not only do I miss her specifically, but just having a female energy in the crew, it created interesting balance, especially her character specifically, because the whole point was that Jack owed her a ship, so she had she didn't take any shit from anybody because she's I'm here because you want me here. I'm not here because I need to be here.
Yeah.
I like that energy and that dynamic, and that's lost here.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
I definitely feel like Elizabeth tried to bring that a little bit, but it still came out kind of whiny and traditional.
Elizabeth's just a different character.
Yeah, it's more traditional, whereas I think that would have been interesting, or even on the ghost ship or whatever.
Yeah.
Just something, There's only one lady in the movie. Well, in the Pirates,
Yeah, just like Elizabeth.
There's the black lady, but
and then Tia Dalma,
but she's not a pirate. I don't think she's a witch doctor.
Yeah, kind of like a voodoo
They're always
in the bayou.
They're
kinda.
always mystifying voodoo.
I know. Maybe she's not. Again, I have a lot of ignorance on this topic, but I don't know what you would call that.
No, yeah, she definitely played the character,
a very caricatured
of the Black Oracle,
Louisiana witch doctor woman. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She plays the caricature.
Yeah,
100%.
If she was Asian, she would have been the wise master or whatever.
It's she definitely fills the void of there's the trope of the magical black character.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Which extends to other characters, just the idea where it's just a black character comes and their wisdom helps the white main character.
Yeah.
But in this case, she actually is a magical black person.
With dirt.
With dirt. But I do really. We'll get to her. But actually, despite being a why
was he upstairs?
Pause on that. Put a pin in it.
Were they diddling?
I don't. They may have been dilly-dallying up there. Despite her being a semi-racist caricature, I actually quite like that character. It's just something. Her performance, I think.
No, yeah.
Is very every time she's on screen, it just draws you right in.
Mama something from Princess and the Frog. Love her.
Oh,
not Mama Coco. It's something else.
Are you saying that it's similar to that character? You mean?
Yeah.
I think it was the same actress or something.
No. But what you're saying, you like the character. I love that character. She's she's sassy.
Yeah.
She's wise.
Okay.
She's small.
So now Beckett brings Will into his office, and he's got the office with the map, and he's like,
wait a minute. Sorry, I just want to. Ted and Terry. You stole the principal from the Count of Monte Cristo. What's up with that?
Of what?
Of being in a jail like that, right? and then kind of like, I don't know what you would call that, mid-century, whatever. And then pretending to be dead, and then getting, thrown out with the dead bodies, and then escaping.
Oh, with Jack, you mean?
Yes!
Oh.
They did that in The Count of Monte Cristo.
Well, I steal from the best.
Yes, well,
Right?
I guess.
That's what people are stealing from me all the time.
Oh, well, they did it in a funny way.
They steal my packages. They don't steal my
God.
artistic.
Let's not bring up the packages. Oh, my God.
We've been having a lot of package theft in our building lately. We're getting very annoyed by it.
It upsets me, so. Anyways, he's in the office.
Yes. So he's in the office, and Beckett's like, I need the compass and whatever. And he's like, I'll give Jack a pardon, and we'll basically employ him. And he'll be a free man. And Will's like, I doubt Jack will see employment as being free.
Yeah, he does
which I'm
not
like,
that.
yes, Will, anti-capitalist, yes. Wage slavery is a thing. Okay, so, but I really like this idea that Beckett's like, the lines on the map are being filled in, because this is like during the age of discovery in quotes, because obviously people lived there.
Yeah.
It was already discovered. But this
painter
idea,
guy?
but this idea that just like the map is being filled
painter
in.
guy?
Not the painter guy, just Beckett says this. He's just like the lines on the map are being filled in. Like more and more of the world's being again in quotes discovered.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like what is your place going to be in this world, in the world that we make, in this new world, right?
He's like basically pirating is like passe and like.
Because Port Royal is very much like a vestige of England. Like if it just feels like England but in the Caribbean, whereas like. They are not trying to do this, but it is an interesting historical commentary that there is like a major global political order that's shifting. Again, with the advent of colonialism and capitalism, and the world is changing. Again, I do not think it's trying to make these observations intentionally, but it's definitely there. It's something you can read into.
It's America.
Yes, America. So. Jack's on his ship, the Black Pearl, which is unfortunate because like we really don't get to see him like really do anything with the Black Pearl before like the conflict starts, because he goes down to find rum, and who's down there? Bootstrap Bill.
Yes.
How would he get there? Stellan Skarsgård, who by the way is awesome in this movie.
Oh yes, he's great.
He brings such like a pathos and like
whole family,
subtlety.
They put
They're
something
good.
in the water or something.
They put something in that water.
But I guess Ted and Terry kind of got a little bit of what they wanted, because he does phase. Because like I was so confused as to
I
how
guess he kind of like
got
ghostly powers.
Yeah,
like,
I was
kinda...
so confused as to how he got into the boat. But then he like phased out when he left. But then also later, when the Black Pearl was fighting the Flying Dutchman,
they kind of
they like teleport. Yeah, like
a great VFX shot where. He's looking through the telescope,
and he sees him, and
he's far away, and then when he takes out, he's close.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird, like kind of mindfuck thing. It was really cool. But anyway, so Bootstrap Bill gives him the black spot. Jack, he needs to go see a dermatologist. That does not look good. So basically now, like that, basically I guess is the mark for the Kraken. That's how they sense where. I think Jack is marked
because he's working for Davy.
Who, Bootstrap Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's part of the crew.
That's why he did it? Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering what that's supposed to be. Is like, was he sent as the messenger?
Well, because later on, yeah, I guess so. Because later on, he kind of has a change of heart and tries to help them.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't really know.
But...
This man ate a crab that came off of his body.
That's right. He's just like... Anyway. But they do a good job of like... They mark Jack and the script, they tell us like this means like the Kraken's gonna find you.
Yeah.
And then we cut to like a random other ship of like those Turkish guys.
Oh gosh, yeah.
The Kraken in this scene and everything else is so well conceived. Like these I don't even want to call them action sequences. It's like a disaster movie. It's like a monster movie.
Yeah.
The Kraken is so scary. They do such a good job of storyboarding these like attack sequences on
and
these
there's
ships.
Personality too, because like
it's smart.
They'll either like pick them off or like it'll just like smack down in general or something, and it does like different things, and it kind of plays with them for a little bit, and then it's like exactly. And it has like a mouth like the sand monster in Star Wars.
The Sarlacc pit, yeah, kind of. It's the VFX on it are great, especially there's like a lot of close-ups of like it's suction cups, kind of not suction cups, but suction
Yes.
In the attention to detail, because there's one part later in the movie where
over the
the
cannon.
tentacle is kind of coming, and you can hear the individual suctions going over. It's like you can hear it.
They're each going over the cannon. Yeah,
It's
really cool.
so well.
And they move.
Yeah. It's very a lot of attention, a lot of detail was put into it, and I really appreciated it.
Well, and I thought what I thought was a funny kind of line through was Jack's hat flies off, but they're like trying to get out of the water, right? Because they're trying to get away from the Kraken. But then the hat goes to the Turkish guys, right? And then at the end, when Jack meets the Kraken again, it like
Spits it up.
spits it out at him.
Which is kind of a nice little
Which
like
was
bookend,
like,
yeah.
How silly.
How silly. Oh, sorry, something just fell out of my butt.
Pocket?
Yeah. So we go back to the prison or the jail. She hasn't been convicted yet.
Not the jail that Jack was in, though.
No.
The original jail with the dog.
Yes.
But no dog. He's not there.
No, he's not there. She's in jail, and Will comes and explains like, oh, if I go get the compass, whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it gets very steamy between the two of them. It's like they're giving fuck me eyes to each
does.
other, and her dad's like right there, and he's just like, all right, where can I please get the fuck out of here?
He like drops a candle.
It's like get a room. It's like is this
Also,
the 18th century conjugal visit? Is this what this is?
What the fuck was up with that? They did all that and then no goodbye kiss?
You gotta do that goodbye kiss.
What the hell?
I don't know. So Will kind of asks around, and he is able to find out that someone see the Black Pearl run ashore on this island.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, oh, that's why I go to trade long pork. I found out long pork is a euphemism for human flesh. So the guy knows. That's why the guy won't bring him to the shore. Because he's like, I'm not going over there.
Okay, yes, the brother, yes.
But this definitely feels...
Which was cool, because we got to see the whole ship. I mean, it wasn't very detailed.
Yeah.
It was just kind of black and dark.
It may have been CGI'd, if I remember correctly. Reading some trivia. It wasn't... They didn't build a full thing on the beach. But it was still cool to see the full thing out of water. Yeah. But this film definitely exists in an era, like King Kong had just come out the year before.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Very disappointing depictions of, like, it's like the scary primitive native peoples. Like, it's kind of really, like, even 2000, like, I understand it was, like, almost 15 years ago, but, like, really?
Yeah.
You know, so, I don't know. It's not, I mean, if I was an indigenous person, I would find it very offensive, but I guess, like...
I mean, they could have done something else and still had, like, the
Again, it doesn't have anything to do with the story. If you think about it, it does not play into it. It's just a set piece.
Yeah.
Because then they eventually leave, and then they go, and he's like, oh, Will, good thing you're here. You can help me find this thing. Literally, it has no bearing on the plot whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's still fun. There's still fun stuff that happens in it, and it's like hijinks, whatever. Yeah. But it speaks to my point earlier about it just feels like here's this idea for like a 20-minute sequence. Where can it go? It's like you're shoehorning it in.
I feel
without, as opposed to the first film.
Something else, though, you know.
It could have been anything.
It's kind of like with Indiana Jones and like the people when they come out of the wall at the end, like those people.
Oh, like the native. That also kind of came out. That came out in 2008. Yeah.
And then King Kong, definitely. Those guys are scary.
In King Kong, they are really
they're terrifying.
But
yeah, so a little disappointing. But I mean, it was like 20 years ago.
Speaking of Indiana Jones, you made a very astute observation that I wrote down somewhere later in my notes, but I may as well just bring up now. Is that this film? We were talking about the tone problem, and it kind of reminded you of Temple of Doom.
Yes.
Where it'll be like something immensely silly, and then 5 seconds later, someone gets like stabbed through the head or something.
Or
like it's like very.
Gets his heart ripped out, and
it's like
they burn him alive.
Literally creates a new rating from the MPAA.
I know.
But Jack has become like king of this tribe. But I guess if you're king, they think you're a god, so they're gonna eat you, and it's like this whole.
Yeah.
It's this whole thing.
Not good.
And
then they make these like little bird cages for the crew.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny, them trying to get out. Also, can we talk about how these stunts or hijinks are not practical at all, and they definitely would have died. Like
What do you mean practical, like... Not practical, like it's a practical VFX. You mean, realistic. Yeah.
Because, like, if Jack fell down a chasm, like a little fruit kebab, and then...
I guess the idea is that him hitting all the bridges kind of slowed down his velocity. I don't know. And then it's based off of a fucking a boat ride.
They're really drawing it out. They're really pulling... Ted and Terry are very, very creative.
You like to call them Ted and Terry.
Ted and Terry.
Okay, anyway. So going back to Port Royal, Elizabeth's still in jail. I think this interesting reversal where now instead of like trying to coo the dog to come over, they're like trying to get her. They're like, come here to Elizabeth.
That was kind of weird.
Which is kind of weird. It's like a funny reversal, but I'm kind of like, patriarchy. Anyway, so...
It was just a callback.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of like, it's like the first movie, but different. So the governor, her father... tries to send her off to England. It does not work. But she escapes because she's Elizabeth Swann. She escapes and I guess stows away on a ship and pretends to be a man to, find Will. Because now Will's looking for Jack. Elizabeth... It's like...
The dad gets her out. Oh my gosh. And then the... What's his name? Beckett slices...
No, it was not Beckett. It was another guy. You kept getting Beckett confused with other people. It was like his henchman. It was Beckett did not do... Beckett doesn't do any of his own dirty work. He would not do that.
Beckett wasn't the one in the club, but Beckett was the one who sliced.
No.
Yes, it was.
No, it was a man with black hair.
No.
It was... Should we pull it up right now? Should we pull it up right now?
Here. It's going to take too long. Anyways, there was a British man.
Someone
who sliced the throat of this man who was going to take Elizabeth on safe passage to Britain so she can kind of like, dodge the law. Mm-hmm. But then they arrest the dad. But she's disappeared. She's so good at stowing away, just like on the boat when she goes out the window while her dad is having a sweet moment.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's such a sweet papa. He really tries, but
they take away his wig.
Oh shit, they do. And that was big back then.
That was big. His hair was all kerfuffle. Yeah, maybe we'll talk a little bit about Elizabeth in this movie. I feel like this movie just does all the characters dirty. In terms of just like, it just feels like all the characters are flattened. Like they had so much dimension in the first film, and this one it's like, what is like? It all feels very convoluted. She's trying to find Will, who's trying to find Jack, who's trying to find the box, who's trying to find it's like.
Also, where the hell did he get this drawing of a key from?
And did he need a drawing of a key to know there's a key? Is it just for the visual?
Yeah, if we're going off of the what are they called? Like the myths or the tall tales of Davy Crockett or Davy Jones.
Crockett.
No, I said Davy Kraken. Anyways, Davy Jones and the Kraken. Why couldn't the key be a myth too?
Yeah,
I don't have to be a shitty drawing.
It has to be like, I'm looking for this, and then whoosh, whips it out.
It's like a key.
But. Back to the Cannibal Islands. We have three different basically storylines colliding now because we have Jack, we have Will, and then we get Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and they're having their philosophical conversation about God, and which is pretty funny.
They're so cute.
He's like, now that we're not immortal, we have to protect our immortal souls.
Oh, I hope he gets a glass eye.
Yeah.
Because remember, he was rubbing his eye, and he was getting splinters. And then Pinto was like, stop rubbing it.
Stop rubbing it. And so Will and the crew end up in like you were talking about these like
the
these
cages.
these kind of balls, like the circular balls
in a chasm.
And they start trying to swing back and forth. Why do they play circus music? It's kind of anachronistic because this is like, it sounds like P.T. Barnum, and this is supposed to be like the 1700s. And again, it's a weird tone shift where you have like this like doo 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 doo, and then 2 minutes later those guys fall and die.
Yeah.
Because they grab the snake and they all let go and they all just die.
Yeah.
Again, similar to Temple of Doom. Like
it was. Oh, they had to
climb up the wall. basically.
No. They had the Emperor's New Groove their way out of that chasm.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. But they all, again, this all collides once they get to the Black Pearl. Tweedledee and Tweedledum are trying to...
How they get to the Black Pearl?
Oh, because they have like a hamster ball.
They're rolling in this giant hamster ball, and then I guess it gets caught in something, or I don't know, someone is having trouble.
The poor little person.
And then Gibbs is like, now hoist it up like a lady skirt, and then like running.
It's just so...
But Marty's feet don't touch the ground, of course. So silly.
I will give this movie credit that, like, none of this was ever... I was never bored during this movie.
No way.
That's the thing is I think what we'll see with the later ones just start to become more boring from what I hear. Whereas this one, I think that tonal inconsistency is a problem. Mm-hmm. It's not boring. I was entertained. No. For sure.
This one was definitely went big.
Yeah.
It did not go home.
But all these three kind of parties all collide on the beach with the Black Pearl. The Tweedledee and Tweedledum are trying to, by themselves, hoist the ship off.
Because these boys, they go off and they're fighting like dodos.
That's later.
Oh, wait. That's a
later.
Different island? Oh,
that's
yeah,
a different island. So they're trying to hoist the ship, and then Jack kind of gets his Indiana Jones moment of like getting chased by the native people like in the first one. And this is like an iconic, like whenever people physically make fun of Jack Sparrow, it's this like the running, the arms.
My sister.
That's like the thumb. Yeah, that's like the thumbnail Disney Plus. It's the thumbnail of this episode. If you look down at your thing of him running away, it's iconic of him running away. That expression. I like. So anyway, they go and
they're trying to steal the boat. Rigetti and Pinnell.
Yeah, they're trying to do it by themselves.
Yeah, they're trying to do it just the two of them, trying to get this giant ass.
Because earlier they're like, "Oh, you need at least 6 men."
Yeah, and that's why the other ball of people fell, because they were like, "Oh, we'll just get there first and then leave you guys."
Yeah.
But
why did you just wait? I thought you guys were all buddies.
I don't know, pirate code. But then it was so funny because when all the guys got there, they were like, "Oh, we were just getting this ready for you."
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like.
Now it's just like, I guess they're like hanger-ons.
Yeah, they're just kind of join the team.
Yeah. So anyway, they go. Jack is very not into going out to sea at all, obviously, because he has the black mark.
No way.
The black spot. So this is when they go see Tia Dalma.
Yes.
And again, I love, like, we're shaking it up in terms of, like, the visual and, like, the locales, if you will. So we kind of get, like, more, like, what do you call this region? Like, I don't want to say Louisiana because it's like swampy. Yeah, like
swampland. Like, I don't know.
Like like southern United States swampland.
Well,
like
it's not, because it's in the Bahamas. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if maybe they went to the coast and then.
It said filmed on location. So
Okay.
Probably just.
Well, that was probably maybe on a
wetlands.
set. Yeah, whatever.
Wetlands.
But I'm just saying, I like kind of having different water set pieces. It's not just like everything's out at sea. Mm-hmm. Again, I love Tia Dalma. Again, I think for all the reasons we laid out before.
She's so sharp.
It's just something about the performance more than anything. Well, I don't care about her being wise. I just think she's
just sharp. She's like, well, do you want it to work? Okay.
Oh, that was so funny. She's like, here's this jar of dirt, and he's like, well, it help. She's like, if you don't want it, give it back. He's like, no, I think I'll keep it. It's like, then it will help. So yeah, she tells the story. Davy Jones cut out his own heart. I don't understand.
Crazy boy, how'd you do that? How you not dead?
So
who is your master?
Jack is a sneaky bastard. He sends Will to go to a shipwreck, and he's like, that's the Flying Dutchman, which wrong. And Will's like looking around for.
Well, I guess it was like their above ground one, right?
No, I thought it's just
that man was doing the.
I think he was a survivor of whatever ship that was. No, I don't know. It's not made clear.
Unclear.
The Flying Dutchman, the ship, looks so cool.
Oh, it's so scary.
It's so.
It has like a mouth.
Yeah, it's such a great. That's what I can say about these movies. At least these earlier ones. Again, we'll see what happens when we get to the later ones. Mm-hmm. They really go hard in terms of like the designs. Like they put a lot of attention to detail in terms of like the character designs and ships and everything. It looks so cool. And again, like I had said before, but it bears repeating. Yeah. The CGI in this movie holds up. It still looks better than like a lot of schlock that comes out today, especially Davy Jones specifically.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cool when it comes in and out of the water because, like, I guess it can do that because it's like a magical ship.
Oh yeah, there's a great shot where it's like above, it's like over his shoulder.
Yeah,
and they like descend underwater. Yeah, they
yeah.
dive, kind of like almost like a submarine.
Yeah, this one it kind of floats up, like kind of opposite of what Jack did in the beginning, in the last movie.
Oh
Like
yeah.
His ship was sinking.
Yeah,
and theirs
yeah.
is slowly rising.
Yeah. Davy Jones makes this movie because when we were watching it, I was like, this is like pretty good, whatever.
He's good.
But once he comes into the film, it's like it opens up. It really like, you know, and this film was kind of at a disadvantage compared to the first one, whereas like Barbossa like is introduced pretty early on into the story, whereas Davy Jones doesn't really make his grand entrance until maybe like not halfway through the film, but close.
Yeah.
Like maybe like 2/5, like 40% of the way. Okay. You know, whatever it is. But he really makes this movie. I feel like I'll spoil it now. He's probably my favorite part of the movie. Like his design, the performance, the characterization, him playing the organ.
His beard is so cool.
It's just so cool, right?
And there's so much attention to detail, like when he's like breathing or smoking, like there's the what are they called? Like the tubes on the side of his face.
And they like blow out water.
It comes out of.
Such great little details.
Yeah. So there's like the blowholes, I guess, or whatever, and then like the tentacles too, and then I hate it when he turns around because then you can see his like jiggly little octopus head. It hangs out the back of his hat.
What? Oh my gosh.
It looks funny.
But anyway, so Will ends up on the ship.
Yeah.
With them, and he's like, "You're not."
He seems so unfazed. He's so unfazed.
He's just like...
He's not scared of anything at all.
I think maybe this kind of ties into what I was saying, where it's like it was hard to act off of Bill Nighy, because it's like he didn't look scary.
No, but he wasn't even talking to him at this point. It was just him... It was just like the panning shot.
I don't know, yeah.
Anyway.
Orlando Bloom also isn't an amazing actor either, so maybe...
Well, he's a cutie.
He's sexy.
He's a cutie.
But because Davy Jones is like, you're not dead or dying, so what are you doing here?
Yeah. Oh, because, they killed the other guy.
And he's just like, oh, I'm here. Because Jack was like, oh, tell him you're here to settle Jack Sparrow's debt.
I thought that was so shady.
It was shady.
Because he's basically... See, this is why I need more answers, but basically, I guess Jack is supposed to be on the Flying Dutchman, or at least at some point.
He owes Davy Jones.
Yeah,
I guess Davy Jones
13 years or something. I
guess he made a deal with Jack that he resurrected, like the Black Pearl was just like a ship that had sunk. And they kind of turned it into like the zombie ship or kind of. And he was like, you could do this for 13 years, but then you owe me. Like now then you
have to be part of my crew.
And I guess the 13 years are up. And his whole argument's like, well, technically I was only captain for 2 years. So
he's like, well, because you were a shitty captain, that's why.
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
I like how they kind of do like commentary on like meta commentary on the first film, because he's like always going around and just like, oh, you're Captain Jack Sparrow. So you could have fooled me. You were only captain for 2 years. You went around this whole time.
Like when they were getting arrested and they were like, for helping a pirate named Jack Sparrow. They were like, Captain. both Will and Elizabeth.
Why are they so loyal to Captain Jack Sparrow and his good name? That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. It's so weird.
Because the original movie did a good job of it, where it was like,
especially later on.
We're not. Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
The first movie does a good job of like making it like they're fair weather friends, like where it's like they don't know if they really care about one another, but it's like, you know,
they're in this adventure together.
Yeah. But it doesn't give you the sense that by the time this movie's happening that they're like, excuse me, it's Captain Jack Sparrow.
Especially if they haven't seen each other in years and like all this stuff.
Well, again, how long has it been? That's the thing. They don't make it. Has it been years? Has it been like a couple months?
Well, the way that Will talks, it seems like he didn't see him for a long time. Hasn't talked to him.
Long enough, yeah.
Yeah. To the point where he has to be like, hey, look, it's me. You remember me? Like, you know, that long.
Yeah. So Davy Jones renegotiates with Jack, where he's like, oh, how many souls am I? He's like, I gave you Will, and he's like, no, you're worth like 100 souls.
Yeah.
So he's like, if I can find 100 souls, which they kind of drop that plot point.
Yeah, they do.
It doesn't really come up like so, but they go to Tortuga because they're like, he didn't say what kind of souls.
Yeah.
So they just like enlist like any drunk.
Basically rounding up drunks and prostitutes
Human trafficking,
and
basically.
stuff.
Yeah.
Just like people, like the quote unquote people that won't be missed.
Exactly, which is really it's commentary.
Or like
honestly.
won't, you know.
That's what serial killers do, like Jeffrey Dahmer. So they go to Tortuga, and who's there? Norrington, who has fallen from grace because I guess
he's basically Gibbs now.
He's washed up, and it
from the first.
Well, there's actually it's an interesting parallel because he says like, "Oh, I'm in the same story as you, just one chapter behind." Interesting because then he gets thrown to the pigs.
Oh, that's what he meant. Yes,
he gets thrown to the pigs, which is how we get introduced to Gibbs in the first place.
Yes.
And the trivia was like he gets thrown to pigs but also quite possibly the same pigs. Those could have been the same pigs. Is the trivia point.
Terry always thinking of those details.
But Norrington basically has fallen from grace because he let Jack Sparrow go, and because the whole implication is like we're still gonna go after
He's
you.
Been chasing him and chasing.
We're gonna let you go, but we're still gonna go after you. But we're gonna give you a head start.
Without Anvil,
What?
Without Anvil.
Who's Anvil? What's Anvil?
He's been chasing him without
Anvil. To no avail.
To no avail.
With no anvil. And anvil's like that thing in a cartoon that drops and hits someone on the head.
With no anvil, and so
to no avail.
To no avail, and so he basically got let go because they're like, you're doing
I guess he tried to go through a hurricane to find Jack, and it didn't go well.
Yeah, also went through a fucking hurricane. That was dumb.
So now he's basically just like
basically
a teenage dirtbag. Except he's not a teenager.
Except he's like 30 years old.
Older. I mean,
I don't know.
He was like 30 in the flashback in the first movie, and then 10 years later. So that dude's got.
Oh, that's right.
I still don't like the age difference between them because he's clearly like, she's like 10 and he's at least 25.
Yeah.
And then he's 35. But anyway, yeah. So he's not a teenage dirtbag. He's just a dirtbag.
He's just a dirtbag. They basically let Jack ruin him, I guess, in a way, being so obsessed with solving that one
he let his obsession kind of like be his undoing.
Yeah,
kind of.
Like I said, Jack is tricky, so he's kind of hard. He's kind of like the monkey. He's hard to catch,
Jack Sparrow's a lot like Donald Trump.
What?
Because you just can't. Donald Trump has had every legal issue like every year since like 1984,
and he's always
been able to wiggle his way out of it. That's what I'm saying. He's a lot like Jack Sparrow, only not suave at all.
I thought it was funny when they gave the monkey to Tia Dalma.
And he's like, look, psh, an undead monkey.
Yeah, but then she takes him out, and they're like, no, it took us so long to get
to catch him.
So I feel like that.
Well, apparently there's a trivia point.
That's like
he goes upstairs because Barbosa's upstairs. Supposedly, it's like a trivia point. But
also Jack steals like a ring or something. That's never addressed.
Maybe I'll be addressing that. Who knows?
He's thieving.
This movie's like a little overstuffed. That's the problem. Is that it is. I think it's the same runtime as the first film, but it feels much longer, doesn't it? Again, because it's a little bit more clumsy, and again, it's plot machinations, so it feels longer.
I feel like all the action and stuff kind of helps with that, though.
That's true.
Because you didn't ask how much longer until half an hour was left, so.
Because I knew what the climax was, and I was like, so they're on the ship. How much longer is left? Because I was like, isn't the movie over? Like, isn't there only like 5 minutes left? But anyway, so Norrington agrees. Oh, and also they I'm skipping over stuff. They link up with Elizabeth. She ends up in Tortuga.
Oh yes, they end up in a bar fight and all this stuff. Yes, and there's a spy. There's Beckett's spy.
So he's like, Jack's like, here's my compass. It points wherever you want to go. I guess Tia Dalma gave him the compass. Is the implication?
Yes, it traded it for something.
But he's like, you want to find the key? She's like, no, I want to find Will. It's like, yeah, but to find Will, you want to find the key. So
because he's been having trouble
because he doesn't know what he wants
for an unknown reason. I mean, we know why Elizabeth is.
Which don't even we're gonna get there. Don't even get me started.
No, I have a lot to say. For
I have
that.
a lot of thoughts.
But like, it's never explained about Jack. Like, I'm confused. Anyway.
I don't know. So we go back to the Flying Dutchman. Father-son reunion.
Yes!
Because he hasn't seen him in 10, 15 years.
They're like, Turner, get up here!
Yes?
Like, yes? Okay. And then they both climb up.
They're both Will Turner, which is funny. They're both...
They both climb up different sets of stairs, and they're both, like, fighting over...
They're like, I was told to do this. Like, no, I was told to do this. And they look at each other, and they realize...
And then his dad recognizes him, even though he hasn't seen him in, like, 20 years.
Yeah, I guess... It's one of those things in movies, like, we feel like you wouldn't be able to recognize them, because usually when you watch a movie, the kid version is played by a different actor. But if you think about it, like, you look like you looked 10 years ago, just older. You know what I mean?
Probably, yeah. Well, it'll be a lot easier for his dad to recognize
Well,
him
just say it's his father,
than for Will to recognize his dad.
Well, that's what I was gonna
He's
say.
got barnacles on his face.
But...
And a starfish. like a showgirl.
But, this is kind of just random, but we had talked about this a little bit, but, again, the movie is definitely more magical.
Yeah.
Especially with the ship, because this is like a scene or two after when they get reunited, that they go talk to the guy who's, like, part of the wall.
Oh, yeah, that was so random. I thought he was dead.
Me too, but it's
But
like
then
he's been so long, he's basically, like, turning into the ship, basically. Like, he's been there so long.
No, I know, but then he talks, but then why does he go back? Why doesn't he just walk around?
Maybe I take... excuse me for yawning, ladies and gentlemen. People! Gender-neutral people! No, I think maybe it takes a lot of energy to resist. I don't know.
The whole thing is not explained very well.
Will's like, I gotta figure out where this key is. Whatever.
Oh,
so,
but we did find out that the more
yeah, I talked about that in the thing that gave, like, the more like
they've been
fishified
there.
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so weird. Like, is Davy Jones's 100 years almost up? Like,
No, but he doesn't owe. He's just him.
I'm confused.
He doesn't have 100
Okay,
years.
so the thing.
So he sees the crew. So the group played this game, which I do not understand, and I tried reading about it online.
I guess it's
some kind of dice game
blackjack
where you
or like 21, but with dice.
we have to, like, guess the amount. Like you everyone gets, I think, 6 die.
Yeah.
And then you have to guess. So there's 18 die on the table. You have to guess how many of a certain number
It's
there
kind
are.
of like Go Fish, I guess.
Kind of, and whoever's wrong, or, like, if you get caught in the lie, I think is, like, the idea. Then you lose. It was very confusing. But for the narrative purposes, Will is like, they don't have money, so they're just wagering, like, how many years they got.
Yeah.
Which, are those your years to wager? But
I don't know who keeps track of them.
is there an accountant? But Will wagers an eternity of service for the key, and he challenges Davy Jones. But he's like, oh, show me the key. And he shows him, he's like, I keep it around my neck, whatever.
Yeah.
Daddy Turner comes in. He's like, I'll do a year.
I'm gonna play too. Yeah.
He ends up losing. Which is so fun, on purpose. And Davy Jones is like, you will be on my ship forever, Bill Turner.
He was like, I'm pretty sure I was already gonna be.
But Will is like, it wasn't about winning or losing. Like, I just wanted to know where it was.
I would have been mad.
He's like, I just sold my soul for eternity. I could have told you it was around his neck. But I said it before. Stellan Skarsgård, he's always great, and whenever I watch him, whatever he's in,
Mamma Mia.
he would sure. He was just in Andor recently.
Oh.
And he might be like one of the best parts of that show. And he just always adds, like, a pathos and like, he's an actor. He really feels like he's not a movie star.
Yeah.
He's an actor, and he really, I think, turns in a strong performance here. So let's talk about this love triangle.
Ridiculous. The most ridiculous thing
It
ever.
is the most forced love triangle.
It's like, Natalie Portman's not 17 anymore? Okay, we're gonna throw this in. It's like...
You mean Keira Knightley?
I mean, Keira Knightley, yes, sorry.
I was like, who the hell?
We were watching Star Wars.
You mix up Rose Byrne and Keira Knightley, who both play Natalie Portman's body doubles in the Star Wars prequels, but they are not the same person.
We just watched the other day.
We just watched Revenge of the Sith the other day. Yeah. But neither of them are in that one.
I know. Anyways, so Keira Knightley. Oh, she's not 17 anymore? Okay, let's do this.
Let's have her,
she's
like,
literally
make out with...
gonna make out with Johnny Depp, who's, like, 45.
Yeah, it's just weird. And, like, the behind the scenes, that's weird. But even within the world of the story, I don't understand why they've done... Like this whole idea, it's like, oh, like, you've secret... Like, they imply it earlier that... Because she's quick to be like Captain Jack Sparrow. They imply that, like, Norrington is kind of like, you have the hots for Jack Sparrow, and she's like, what are you talking about, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, they imply it even before, and then she has the compass, and it keeps pointing to...
Yeah.
And it's like, where is this like, why? Like, nothing about the last movie made it seem like you...
about to marry Will. What the hell?
Well, you know what, you may be about to marry someone, but your heart
and also,
longs for someone
what
else.
the hell, Will? You're about to sell your soul to Davy Jones when you're engaged? You're about to get married?
Well, you just gotta buy some time.
But
I don't understand what happened at the... Again, this is why we needed to have more in the beginning. Because she starts this movie a Jack Sparrow sycophant. Mm-hmm. Nothing about the last movie made it seem like she was really into him. Either romantically or just as a human.
Because she knows she's like... or she at least... she knows she's above him.
So again, this is where it really feels like it's just the writers being like, we want this thing in the movie, so we're going to put it in. It doesn't feel natural. Maybe
because, like, she doesn't get a lot of time with Will?
Ooh. Sorry, I just cracked my neck. You may have heard it. I do not. It's so forced. Like, love triangles are always derided, but I think they can be done very well. This is one of the most forced love triangles I've ever seen. Because then at the end, she kisses him to distract him, but then Will sees, and he's like, oh,
never addressed. They never
Well, they probably addressed it in the next one. I know.
Okay.
Again, this is very much a two-part movie. So we can't judge it too hard on not answering certain questions that are going to be addressed.
I mean, no, it didn't answer, Barbosa or whatever, but, like, it just... Because I wanted it to be addressed soon after, because then when they get back to Tia's place, they're...
You're making it sound like she's like she owns a diner. Like, oh, we're going to Tia's place.
Whatever.
Isn't Tia Spanish for aunt?
Yes, aunt.
So is she supposed to be like auntie?
Yeah, like aunt. What's her name?
Dalma.
Dalma? Okay.
Daphne.
Is it
Dalma.
Dalma or Dalmy?
Dalma.
Okay.
Dalma.
Okay.
I'm saying it like a Rhode Islander. Dalma.
Dalma, yeah. Okay. So when they go back to Dalma's place, like, they're like, oh, sad about Jack, blah, blah, blah. But Will is still kind of steaming. But then she's like, oh, what if you can bring him back from the dead? Like, and sail to the...
At World's End. Whoa, but you're jumping ahead, though.
No, I'm saying, but then, like, everyone's all on board, even Will.
Even Elizabeth.
Which I'm so confused.
Which, like, Elizabeth, I guess she feels guilty?
Well, she should, yeah, because she just killed a man.
Yeah. Or at least set it up for him to die.
Yeah.
At the very least.
But, I don't know. Like, I was so confused. Like, why is Will so behind this? Like, they're that good of friends that he doesn't care that they just made out? Like, and not like a peck. Like, that was like a fucking makeout. They were up there for a while, Like,
it was not a peck.
Like 5 or 6 dudes, like, got out of the ship and went into the boat. Like, it was like a while, So... I don't know. I was confused. I'm confused by this whole love triangle thing.
I don't know. Something
so silly.
Something unrelated. I understand the stakes for Will and his father. I understand the stakes of Jack. I don't quite understand the stakes of Beckett getting the chest. Like, they make it like, if Beckett gets the chest, he'll control the seas and it won't be safe for pirates. Okay, whatever. Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't quite understand, like, what the real threat of Beckett getting it is.
No, I think because they are a trading company, they want to basically have control of the sea, which is like their, like pathways. And with that would probably most likely be like he would probably send hits out on pirate ships because they're basically stealing their business. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if he knows about the Kraken, but like he knows he controls something, right?
He controls something. I don't know what it is.
But also, how does he even know about that? Like,
I guess it's of legend, and I don't know.
But
I like how Elizabeth thinks he's going after the treasure from the first movie. He's like, no, that's not what I want. But thank you, though.
Yeah, ghost Aztec or haunted Aztec gold?
Not for me.
Not for me. No. You better have some more info.
But in any case, they find the chest. They're able to locate on like this island or shoal, right? Like when it's like very shallow water. No, but I guess it is on because then they kind of go off into the jungle.
It's kind of like an extended
sandbar
version. Yeah, it's kind of like an extended version of the island that they sent him to in the first one.
Yeah,
like it has more I don't know, like a sandbar, like a longer beach, I guess.
Yeah. And so they find the chest, the dead man's chest.
The love letters, roses, and the heart. The heart. Yeah.
But it's an interesting visual metaphor. That he like ripped out his heart and locked it away in a box. Mm-hmm. But it's like, bro.
Now the key is where your heart is.
Yeah.
You're just as vulnerable.
Yeah. I don't know. So then you have this three-way. Oh wait, I think I'm skipping something because somehow Will ends up with them again.
No, yes.
Oh no, he comes ashore. Doesn't he swim?
He comes ashore.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I was thinking of the guy, of the brother dropping him off. But that was earlier. This was a different time.
But anyway, so you have like this three-way conflict because Will wants to stab the heart and just kill Jones so that his father can be free. Which also,
again, with the tone and set, it's like a real ass heart. It's like
yeah, it's not like a metaphorical anything. Like it is a straight up like that you see. It's like
not like a glass like kind of thing, or whatever.
It's not like a cartoon heart. Like it's literally like ventricles and vesicles
with like goop
arteries.
on it.
Yeah, like those tubes that come out of it.
Yes, the ventricles.
But so Will wants to just kill Jones. Mm-hmm. Jack wants to preserve it so he can have influence over Jones. Mm-hmm. And Norrington wants to take it back to Beckett because
he wants to
kind of reclaim his honor.
Yeah, reclaim his honor. See, that's why I was confused about the ship. Sorry. To go back to that. But like, so if Jack has that, then he can basically be in charge of Davy Jones and like be the captain, quote unquote. But like,
why would you want to do
that? But like then.
Oh, but you want to know why? Because he still has the black spot. So he's like, I need him to at the very least call off the Kraken on me.
Oh, okay, yes.
So if you kill him right now, then I'll never be able to leave this island.
Yes, I got that.
Okay. It feels a little contrived. It all makes sense for everyone's character. Like, it all makes sense. It just feels like a little...
They all had reasoning.
They all have their reasons.
It just seems so silly that they're so engrossed in it.
Yeah.
Like...
It's also interesting that, like, Norrington is not at a level... Like, Will and Jack are, like, the main characters of this franchise. And they've been in the majority of both of these movies. Norrington was only in a portion of the last movie and even less in this movie. And he gets to be part of the three-way... Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Something about it always felt weird that he's, like, he gets to be elevated to, like, that level to get to fight with them. I don't know.
But, I guess to make it more interesting, I don't know. Also, when they start going off, before Jack gets up, he takes the heart and he puts it in his shirt. So, but then the box closes, right? So when they're sword fighting, on the beach or whatever, and Elizabeth's like, "Oh, you fools! Stop it right now!" Humph! Then
the humph is very accurate. Yeah.
Then because she sits on she even tries fainting. She's like,
"I can't feel faint."
The heat. Oh. And then she, like, peeks out. That was funny.
While this is going on. Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yes,
steal the chest.
They steal the chest, not knowing that there's no heart in it. But
They should have just had Elizabeth. Like, Will should have just been like, okay, I'm going to fight these guys. While we're all fighting, open up the chest and stab the heart. Okay. And
yeah, but instead, so they're not listening to her no matter how much screaming she does. So she sees Raggedy and Pintel, yes. And Pintel running off with the box, doesn't know that the heart's not in the box, right? So she's running after them. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of get split up, right? So these fools are sword fighting all across the damn island. And they get to this, like, little...
Like water wheel, like a mill.
Yeah, like this, like, decrepit mill that's, like, falling apart. And... and they get up on the wheel. Well, they're on the roof. And then, Jack falls off.
Norton's about to kill Jack, and Jack's like...
yes.
And Norton's like, you're the reason my life is shit. And he's like, well, technically it's Will's fault, because he's the one who let me out of jail in the first place.
Yes.
And then Jack falls off, and he's like, damn it, he's right! And then him and Will start fighting, and I'm just like, this is, like, so silly. It's so silly.
Jack is off doing his own thing. He falls into a grave. I don't know.
Falls into a grave.
Will and Norrington, they get up on this. You know, this is a common theme in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's just people just walking all over the place while they're fighting. Remember when they were fighting in the blacksmith shop?
Yeah.
And they got up on the beams. It's like something similar, right? So they're on this water wheel. It breaks off, and now they're like, now they're playing like, oh, what is that? What is that show called?
Like Wipeout.
Yeah, they're playing like they're basically like playing Wipeout while trying to stab each other on this wheel, and it's just rolling down the trees, rolling down the island, and so everyone's all broken up.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool, like, idea for a fight, especially when they're all inside the wheel, and the camera is spinning with it. So, like, the wheel is, like, stationary, but the background is moving. Yes. It was it was a good visual effect.
Yeah, it was just silly.
This whole part... Oh, what were you going to say? You looked like you were about to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say then, like, somehow Jack gets connected with them again, and he's... for the key, I think it gets stuck.
That's the thing. The key's like, yeah.
When it goes over him on the grave.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the three of them, they're doing shenanigans. Then we see that the sea creature guys, they're on land. But, of course, Davy Jones is not, because he can only go once every 10 years. But apparently they can go whenever.
Yeah.
Anyways. So, they catch up with,
Wait, can I say what I was going to say?
Oh, yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say is that this is the part of the movie that made me think of, like, it felt almost like a silent film. Like Buster Keaton, right? Yeah. And not just like, because it's like visual gags. Like Buster Keaton specifically, who was like the king of like these extravagant like visual gags, like doing all of his own stunts. Like you watch some of this stuff from like the teens and the 20s, and it's just like, how did this man not die doing this stuff? Yeah. Specifically, like this part where Jack is there and like the wheel, like the hole perfectly lands on him.
Yes.
So they get stuck. That's like not a spinning wheel, but that's like right out of like there's a famous short film that he did called 1 Week where it's him and his wife built like it's like build your own house.
Yeah.
And there's a famous shot where he like walks away from the house to like do something.
On the ladder.
And the house falls down, but he's standing in a perfect spot where the window it goes so he doesn't get smushed.
Yeah.
But that's like where I noticed that it feels very like vaudevillian almost. Mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah. So they have this 3-way fight. The guys come on land. They again it's like this like hijinks like. Felt like Scooby-Doo. Everyone's running around and...
Yeah, so Elizabeth has confronted Raggedy and Pintel, but then they're like, fuck this, because they see the guys running after them, so they start running, and then she starts running, and it's this whole shenanigans. The guys are still tumbling down.
Yeah. So yada, yada, yada. They make it back to their boat. Jack... At least as far as he knows.
Well, they lose the chest. The guys get
I'm just skipping over that.
Because there's a funny part later.
I know. I'm going to explain that Jack puts the heart in the jar of dirt.
Oh yes, when they get to the beach.
But it actually isn't in there. It gets swapped out at a certain point.
It was.
I know, but I said it gets swapped out at a certain point.
Yeah, when Norrington goes over.
But this is where you get the iconic. So they're on the boat, and Davy Jones is staring them down or whatever, and Jack is like, "I've got a jar of dirt. I've got a jar of dirt." Infamously made into the YouTube song remix from 2006. We watched it.
I've got a jar of dirt, and guess what's inside it?
It goes so it's like it has such a great cadence to it. It's awesome.
They're like, what? Oh my gosh! And then I love that shot where the crew, like Davy and his crew, they open the box and they're like, and it's empty. It's empty.
That's right.
Because it's so funny. I don't know. They just make really funny faces.
No, but it's really good acting because like they've barely opened it and Davy Jones reacts.
Yeah.
Like you can tell how like upset he is, and he's like Jack Sparrow. But you can see his reaction. Like if you're listening to this, go back and watch just that scene when they open the box, because you see it in his face, like the despair. Like they haven't even finished opening the box. He just knows it's not there.
Yeah.
But.
What?
Even though Davy Jones, no one ends this movie in a good place, because not only has Davy Jones' heart been stolen, but they're still getting chased by the Kraken because of Jack. Again, these Kraken attacking scenes are so well conceived. It's like the scariest monster movie I've ever seen. Yeah. They come up with some good gag is the wrong word. They come up with good schemes to hurt him, right? So they fire the cannons, they blow up like the barrels or whatever.
And I loved how I was like, those aren't forks and knives.
Yeah, no, it's not like the last movie.
Because they were like ripping chunks out of him.
So they're able to do this, and like the Kraken will like fall back into the water, and everyone's like, yay, and they're like, no, like he'll be back in like 5 minutes. We gotta figure something out.
Pissed him off.
So they all like try to evacuate because they think he's after the pearl.
Yes.
But Elizabeth knows the Kraken's after him. So she makes out with them to whatever to kind of distract him, and then kind of like
pushes him up against the flagpole or whatever.
The mast, yeah, I think. Or
and then cuffs him.
Cuffs him there. She's basically like, he's after you, like you're gonna be the hero.
Yeah.
Because she had said something earlier in the movie about like, eventually you'll be faced with the choice, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But she kind of makes the choice for him.
Yeah, well, because she's like, they're just going to keep chasing us if you come with us. So,
yeah.
You need to protect everyone.
Again, not sure how I feel about this because it speaks to Elizabeth's character, but it doesn't really speak to, like, Jack's character up to this point really is, and we said this with the last movie, he really just is a force of nature. He's like Beetlejuice. He's not meant to really have an arc. He's kind of just there for the rest of the characters to bounce off of. But he slowly becomes, like, more central, yet they don't do enough to develop him. And I don't mean in terms of backstory. I just mean in terms of, like, his arc. Like, he doesn't sacrifice himself. He has no choice. I do like how he goes out fighting. He's able to break free.
That shot was cool. That shot was cool.
When he's able to get out of the thing, and he's like, yes.
I guess he dies, but I mean, I thought he could just live. He could just stab him, but there's a lot of teeth in there.
There's a lot of teeth. Eventually, he'd be digested.
That's true. Well, not if he cut through his head like in Hercules.
How strong do you think his little ass 17th century sword is?
I don't know.
To cut through, how many feet thick do you think that Kraken is? Probably like 13 feet thick of just flesh.
Oh, well, that's some good calamari right there.
It's when they would burn it and singe it, like, nice calamari for dinner, boys.
We're eating fish tonight, boys. But I get the reasoning, but I just felt really funny when she lied to them.
Well, it's funny because they all think he sacrificed himself.
Yeah. But, like, does no one find that suspicious? Because, like, he would never do that.
Gibbs kind of says something. He's like, like, right up until the end, he, like, made you think he wasn't a good guy.
Yeah.
It's like, no, if he had it his way, he would have been with all of you, and you guys would have gotten attacked in the longboat.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange.
I feel like she should have just said something, or like maybe said that first and then go back and like,
well, once they rescue Jack, I'm sure it comes out where he's like, why did you do that to me?
The grief. Yeah, hopefully, because then that would explain the kiss, and not that she knows that he saw, but like the I don't know.
It would at least explain. It would at
And
least
then
tie
there
up
would
that
cause
loose
some
end.
tension between her and the crew, but also, like, it needed to happen, and it's like, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, just add a layer.
Lots of cliffhangers for this because it's like what happened to Jack. Norrington brings the heart to Beckett.
Yeah.
So I wonder. Because
Did her dad get his wig back?
probably not. I wonder, like, so how does Beckett now apply this leverage? Like, so is the next one like Davy Jones is doing his bidding now? Like, I'm interested to see the next one. But they're like, so Tiadama's like, are you willing to? I'm not gonna do the voice. I'm sorry. She's like, are you willing to travel to go to at World's End, which is the name of the next one?
Yeah.
To find him, he's like, well, if you're gonna do that, you need to go with someone who knows those waters. Mm-hmm. Barbosa,
Because he been dead.
and now he's surely alive. He's like, where can I find a bushel of apples?
I was so confused.
Because we were watching it, because I remembered that, because that's like a big, like, I didn't remember too much from this movie, but again, like you had said, I remember like specific moments and scenes.
Yeah.
I remembered that, but we were watching, I was like, do you know how the movie ends? And you're like, not really. And I was watching it, and I was like, watching you. I want to see your reaction when he came on screen. And you were like, I remember as a kid, that was like a big, I was like,
Because it was so visceral.
It's an exciting,
so visceral, his death, and it was like kind of sad. I mean, he's a bad guy, but like, he just wanted to eat a fucking apple.
He just wanted to taste a fucking apple.
But now he's been eating apples, potentially getting some punani. and he's back, better than ever, and he's got his little monkey guy now.
He has his monkey friend.
Which why is he still like that? Did he steal a single thing, and no one?
You remember in the post-credits scene, the monkey steals the coin? Remember we watched it?
Oh yeah, but they never just brought him back.
Also, speaking of post-credit scenes, the
goodness.
last film, I didn't know that there was one. We were like, let's just watch it. The dog becomes the chief of the cannibals.
Is the chief? Yeah, see, that's the degrading part of it, I think, because like I think it could be fine to have like a
evil cannibal native peoples.
Sure, but like it was like the cartooniness of it, right? So it's like, oh, they're all about like burning Jack, and then it's like, oh wait, but those guys are escaping. So then they all run over there.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's like, oh wait, but Jack, and then they all run back, and then like, they're at the ship, and like, then the dog runs away, and they're like, oh, we'll all go. I literally said, I was like, why is the...
Can't you divide and conquer?
I was like, why is the whole damn tribe...
There's still 100 of you. 50 of you could still take all those guys on the boat, but...
The only people who weren't there was the two ladies. They were cooking some sides or something.
They were just like, oh, I don't want to do it.
And then the little boy. But the rest of them were all there. It was like, how many people does it take to catch a dog?
I don't know. How many pieces of trivia do I have to say before the episode's over? We're gonna find out. So here's some trivia. That's the movie. That's the movie.
That's the movie.
Here's some trivia. Don't look at it before I say it.
I'm not.
You better not. I'm gonna cry. Okay. The scene where Jack Sparrow calls Davy Jones Fish Face and sings to them, I got a jar of dirt, was unscripted and improvised by Johnny Depp. Most of the actions of the crew and the characters are real. I just saw you click into part of the trivia. I know you're looking at it.
No, I'm closing.
I saw the shared document.
I'm closing in on it, but I'm not reading it.
I see your cursor. Stellan Skarsgård's makeup took 4 hours to apply.
Oh, wow.
I don't know about that. Gore Verbinski originally wanted Davy Jones to be Dutch, as he's captain of the Dutchmen. Bill Nighy, however, responded, I don't do Dutch, so I decided on Scottish.
Okay.
Shooting in Dominica proved problematic. The government was completely unprepared for the scale of a Hollywood production, as while the 500-strong crew occupying around 90% of the roads on the island, they had trouble moving around on the underdeveloped surfaces. The weather also alternated between torrential rainstorms and hot temperatures, the latter of which was made worse for the cast, who had to wear period clothing.
Oh, yeah.
So it sounds like a lot was done on location. Especially because a lot of this takes place like on beaches.
That said Dominica? Well,
yeah, I don't know. The Dominican Republic? I don't know what Dominica is.
No, yeah, of course. But, like, in the credits, it said filmed on location in Bahamas. Is the
Maybe Dominica is like an area. Maybe Dominica is not the Dominican Republic.
Well, maybe it's a part of
I don't know.
Why don't we know these things?
I don't know. It's a great mystery. We may never find out. Okay. Beckett's letters of marque are signed by George R., which is the signature of King George I of England, which places the movie in the early to mid 1700s, since King George reigned from 1714 to 1727.
Oh. I thought it was like the 1400s.
We hadn't. There was no Europeans in the 1400s. In the Caribbean, not at all. They were in Europe.
They didn't exist.
No. That I thought maybe it was more like the 1600s, but that makes sense.
Okay.
That makes sense. When Norrington introduces himself to Gibbs, I already talked about this. This is the same setting, even perhaps with the same pigs.
Who wrote that?
Yeah. According to the novelization, Davy Jones's peg leg is made of pure whalebone. His pipe organ is made of coral grown from the organic molding of the Flying Dutchman.
Wait, he has a peg leg? I thought he had
Yeah, it's like a crab leg.
crab leg.
It's like made of like fish whalebone, I guess.
Oh, I thought he was just...
A crab leg? No.
Yeah, I thought he just like...
I guess not. No.
Part crab, part octopus.
I don't know. Okay. The Mythbusters, like the TV show,
Yes.
attempted to recreate the swinging of the hanging cage segment. But were unable to cause the cage to swing far enough to reach the canyon wall. They concluded that it was good cinema, but impossible in real life.
I said that about a lot of things.
The scene, this is something I was wondering when we watched it. The scene where Jack Sparrow calls Davy Jones, "Oi, fish face." He also calls him Scungili. Scungili is an unpopular meal that consists of sea snail or conch sliced and served on many varieties. Or verities. So it's like a gross seafood dish.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Hey, Scungili."
It's like the chopped liver of seafood.
Yeah. This was the first, I didn't know this. This was the first Disney film to use the new computer-generated Walt Disney Pictures production logo, which took a year for the studio to design. It's like the CGI one where it's like the castle and everything. Before that, it was just like the 2D image.
Yes,
I think.
yes.
Sometimes they would style it based on the movie.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't always the blue background and stuff.
No. Yeah.
For a dose of authenticity, in the final twist at the end of the film, the actors were not told prior to filming that Jeffrey Rush, who plays Barbossa, would be appearing in the movie. They were told before the scene was shot that the person coming down the stairs would be Anna Maria, who's Zoe Saldana from the first film. The looks of surprise on their faces as Rush descends are genuine. Jeffrey Rush descends.
That's funny.
And so there's two things on this about like improvised lines. And here's one more. The scene where Elizabeth kisses Jack Sparrow was actually left out of Orlando Bloom's script for a better reaction.
Oh.
So he was just like, Johnny, she's like 20 years old. You're like 45 years old. Okay, so let's talk about critical reception. Was not super well received, especially compared to the first film. Mm-hmm. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 53%. It's pretty low, especially compared to the first film, which had a Rotten Tomatoes score of like 80. Right? Yeah. Again, not bad, but just it means that. Well, here's the critical consensus.
It just hits different.
It's just different. Gone. So the critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is, quote, "Gone is Depp's unpredictability and much of the humor and the originality of the first movie." Period. Usually it's a lot longer. But it's just, the Letterboxd score is 3.5 out of 5 though. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it definitely, I think a certain generation appreciates it a little bit more. I think our generation. And that Letterboxd score feels a little bit more appropriate, I think. 53%. When reading that,
I feel like it's not actively bad.
But that's the thing, is that when I remember not really liking it that much as a kid, so I was always like, okay, that Rotten Tomatoes score, that kind of makes sense.
That's not
but watching it
strong
again,
narrative, but I mean, I don't.
It's a big downgrade from the first one, but still, I think, an enjoyable.
Yeah.
We'll get there with the rating and the ranking. But first, favorite part. Scene, character, actor, line, anything. What's your favorite part about this movie? Anything.
Well, definitely Davy Jones.
That was gonna be my answer.
Yeah, Davy Jones. And then I would say, even though it doesn't always like matter to the story, I think the action is pretty cool, and I feel like they're always like inventing new ways to like do stuff. Like with the wheel. Like, first it was the balance beam, and then like
they're trying to up the ante.
Yeah, they're always trying to do it, and it's never boring, because like like my thing with a lot of like fight scenes, especially like in period pieces, it's just kind of like whatever, or like I never know who's like fighting who or what, it's just like blurry and not really.
It just kind of gets dull after a while.
Yeah, and so I feel like this doesn't really get dull. I mean, sometimes it does, but like if it goes on too long, like the scene, but like I feel like the action in general is they try to freshen every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, if you and I both feel Davy Jones is like the best part of the movie,
Yeah.
maybe a better question is, what's your favorite Davy Jones moment, and why is it him? Why is it him playing the organ?
It is.
Which is
I don't know. It's just so funny because like I didn't realize that they were like fingers. Like I thought they were just like Medusa's hair, just kind of
I didn't know that.
Flowing. But then like no, he can use it to play the fucking organ. Also, how did they get that giant ass organ in that ship? Like
maybe it was all.
It's
a magic ship.
That room is so tall.
It's a magic ship.
That room is so tall.
I didn't realize he's a musician. He's a tortured artist that he ripped his heart out. Okay. So 1 to 10. What do you give this movie? For context, you gave the first film an 8 out of 10. What would you give this film?
I don't know. I was feeling kind of harsh yesterday, but maybe like a 6 or 7. But I don't know.
Which one? So again, for me.
Yes, yours. Say yours.
No, not my ranking. No, I was gonna say.
Say your explanations.
Oh, I was gonna say a 6 is like okay, still good. It's okay. It's a net positive, but it's not something like you really like want to watch again. Like if you never watched it again, you'd be like, okay, fine, that's whatever. Whereas good, it's like it's not one of your favorites, but it's like that was a good movie. So that's how I think of them. But obviously, everyone has their own kind of feelings about like ratings and stuff.
I think if that's the case, then at least for now, I don't know, maybe my feelings will change, but at least for now, I think I'm gonna do a 6 because
interesting.
Honestly, when the movie ended, I was like, I don't remember the movie.
I think that speaks to its lack of structure.
Yeah.
People, like, again, structure is a rule that begs to be broken, but there's a reason why it works is because it gives shape and it helps keep. It's like when you make meatloaf or meatballs. Okay. No. When you have the ground beef, you put in the egg, and the egg is like a glue.
Yeah.
The structure is a glue.
Yeah.
And it helps keep everything together. It's not just because of.
I feel it's very scene by scene.
It's very choppy. It's not as cohesive. I totally get that.
Oh, I remember Davy Jones, or like I remember the crew chasing them or whatever. It's like not like full story.
Yeah.
Like I have to like really think about it.
Again, the first film had such a clear narrative direction.
Yeah.
And this one is messier. And ultimately, it's the first part of a 2-part story.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll feel better about this one looking back after watching the third one. But again, based just mathematically, it's all downhill. Each movie is like, progressively worse. I don't know if the next one. If anything, the next one might make us dislike this movie more. So this clearly goes underneath the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
Like, so that's your ranking. Okay.
I enjoy it. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's great. But like the only like real drama or like emotional story bit of it is like that I remember it being strong, at least, is Will's kind of developing relationship with his father,
which I just wish there was more of, because I feel like Will
was definitely cut short.
Will is also shortchanged. I feel like again, like what's short. His kind of So
yeah, they definitely should have talked more. But like that's like what's the point of the story? Like what am I supposed to get from this? Like.
Again, because what's interesting now that you bring that up is I remember from our last episode, I had seen the original film so many times.
Yeah.
But it was the first time like I was able to articulate, like, and again, I don't know how intentional this was, but I made what I thought was a very interesting observation about like the idea of like about like your role and expectations of who you're supposed to be versus who you want to be.
Well,
Right?
well, this one.
And this one doesn't really have anything like that.
This one just feels like a three-way power grab. Like everyone's just like going after something.
It's just all plot and not enough like. Okay, I don't want to say theme, like the moral of the story, but like there's not enough like what are the ideas
like
behind the story?
Yeah,
there
like,
really isn't any idea. It's just a swashbuckling adventure.
Yeah, even with the reuniting of Elizabeth and Will, like, I mean, they were like making out in the back or whatever, but like they, like it wasn't really focused upon, and it's like, okay, so they just trust that they're gonna come back from these crazy adventures alive. Like, you know, there's no like, oh, I've missed you so much. Like, I've been on this crazy journey, or guess who I met? I met my dad. Like, you know, and like, I don't know.
The first film had very
similar.
compelling character arcs.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this movie, nobody has a character arc.
No, not really.
That's I think that's the problem. Nevertheless, I think I'm going to give this film... I'm very surprised that I like this more than you. I think I'm going to give it a 7. Mm-hmm. I think it just barely squeaks out because I think...
No, and I'm not even saying that I don't like it. Like, I really...
No, the 6 means you still like it, but it's just okay.
It's just like, I don't know. Just seems like something you can watch and then forget.
And forget about it. I completely agree. I think for me, what I was kind of conflicted in going back and forth between like a 6 or 7. But I think for me, it's good for me, because I think what's there works. It just isn't done as well. Mm-hmm. Like the choices on paper are fine. It's just the execution is a little messy. Mm-hmm. But I love the stuff with Davy Jones, and I love the stuff with the Kraken. Mm-hmm. Like it's some of my favorite stuff of the franchise.
So is that the only thing holding it up then?
No, but that's a big part of it.
No, yeah.
I like the scope has been expanded. Mm-hmm. It's very much the sum of its parts and not the whole. Mm-hmm. But the sum is interesting. Again, like we talked about, like I was never bored. Yeah. Like each of the set pieces, you know. So I think it's only going to go downhill from here, right? So I think I'm almost looking at this just optimistically, like, you know what? Instead of looking at it as how it is lesser than the original, I'm just trying to think like how much better this is probably going to be compared to the other ones.
I'm so nervous because like if it's only downhill from here, then maybe I should give it a 7. Because
give it whatever. No, you give it a 6.
Well, I'll just run out of numbers.
No, you don't. You don't have to run out of numbers. But so I'm gonna give it a 7. So, but we both agree that the first one's above this one in terms of our ranking, just by default.
Yeah,
Just the scores are higher, so
sturdier, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit more. It's a little bit messy. It almost feels like the reverse.
Not as exciting, I feel like, but like a lot sturdier.
It's like the reverse of what you think it would be, because I talk about this with X-Men, where it's like the first X-Men feels almost like a dress rehearsal for the second one, where it's like, okay, we got this under our belt now let's like really do what we need to do. It almost seems reversed, where it's like the first one feels really well realized, and the second one is a lot messier, haphazard. Like it feels like it's reversed. So but we'll see how this develops, because that's it for this week's episode of Now That's What I Call a Franchise. Next week we'll be watching the next film in the franchise, the 2007 film Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Viviana, where can they find us?
Colon.
I gotta stop saying colon. I gotta stop saying the colon. It stopped being funny. Viviana, where can they... You won't be able to find the colon, but where can they find us?
Ew. You guys can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Franchise Podcast.
Why did you say it like you were about to say more after that?
Because I was
inflection.
going to say goodbye.
Your inflection, you were like, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Franchise Podcast. and
then you talk, and then
and then I have my line where I say
I work on mine.
And then I have my line, which is, we know you have many podcasting options, and we thank you for choosing us. Peace out, guys.
Later, Gators.